Sri Guru Gaura Gandharva Govindangringanaisaha Vande Prasadato Yesham Savaram Vasubankara Gauravag Vigraham Vande Gaurangam Gauravaivavam Gaura Sankirtanamatam Gaura Karunya Sundaram Guru Rupa Harim Gauram Radha Ruchi Ruchavritam Nityam Nomi Navadipe Nama Kirtananartanai Srimad Prabhu Padamboja Madhupebhyo Namo Namaha Adadana Srinan Dantayar Idam Jache Puna Puna Srimad Rupa Padamboja Dulisham Janma Janmani Nindantam Pulakot Karena Bikasam Nipa Prasunatstrivim Prodrikritva Bujadvayam Hari Hari It Uchaiva Dantam Muhu Nityantam Dutam Asunir Jara Chaye Sinchantam Urvitalam Gayantam Nija Parasadai Parivratam Sri Gaura Chandram Nama Ananda Lilamaya Vigrahaya Hemava Divyachta Visundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasa Pradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. Yes, Prabhu.
Today we have a question from Govinda Nandini Didi, Brazil. First quote. Madhavacharya, in his conception of how one should see the Acharya, the spiritual master, could not harmonize Brahma's bewilderment. After all, he is the Sampradaya Guru, the foremost Guru of the tradition.
First of all, you're quoting Guru Maharaj,
Guru Maharaj
from
yes.
Loving Search for the Lost Servant.
So, after all, he is the Sampradaya Guru, the foremost Guru of the tradition, the Brahma Madhava Sampradaya. So Madhavacharya omitted these two chapters on the illusion of Brahma from Srimad Bhagavatam. But Mahaprabhu did not. Madhavacharya could not accommodate Madhavacharya could not accommodate the idea that Guru may be seduced. He could not tolerate that Guru may not know everything, may not be omniscient. But Mahaprabhu could, unquote. How do we position ourselves as disciples before this explanation of Srila Guru Maharaj?
Well, it reminds me of once when someone was asking Srila Guru Maharaj some questions, and the end of the question he added, after all, the Guru is absolute, right? And that was just an assumption made by the devotees. Yeah, right. Yeah. But Guru Maharaj surprised everyone. He said, Guru is not absolute. And everyone went, what? And Guru Maharaj said, there's so many gurus and they're all absolute. And what if they have differing opinions? He said, in the eyes of their disciples. He said, but the reality of that, just like we can say so many things. And many times Guru Maharaj would say, but I suppose you want to know how far that's true. Because you can say some principle, then to what degree is it true? And as usual, he's noted for his use of analogy. He gave the perfect analogy. He said, like, every child has the right to think that their mom is the best. You know, my mother's the best. And that shall be indulged, that sort of sentiment, right? He's saying, but, and as I said, Guru Maharaj always takes us back to reality, the beautiful. And so he said, but in terms of her motherly qualities, it won't be judged from the loving eye of her child, but against the absolute standard of motherhood, right? And so that is something that we call tatastha vichar, means an impartial analysis, right? And this again, Guru Maharaj says he extracts his ontological method from the Ramananda Samvad. Jar je rasa hoy se sarvutam. The section where he's talking about rasa, and alluding to Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He says, whatever rasa you're tasting, And here we mean like Shantadasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhura, etc. But it includes other things as well. But he's saying, you'll think, there's nothing, could there be anything better than this? And everyone who's tasting that says, no, of course, this is the ultimate thing. But the second half, Tatastha Vichara, is saying, so that's according to the bias of, you could say, love and affection. Right? Like, what is that saying? Love is blind. The Guru Maharaj would say there's a Bengali saying, a woman who has a blind baby, and the people on the train, they go, oh, what is your baby's name? And she says, Padmalochan, which means lotus eyes. And they're saying, but madam, your child is blind. Say, but his eyes are so beautiful. So that's the angle of vision of the mother. So it says, in the second part, it invokes the tatastha vichar. It says, from an impartial judgment. In that case, it's saying, we see that Madhura rasa is the sweetest and is inclusive of all the sentiments that are expressed in the others. So we conclude it's occupying, but it says only from an impartial position, because otherwise, when because it would be to decry the position of the devotees in any other rasa except Madhura rasa. And when some, newly recruited neophytes, as a way of, as an identifier, in the name of Guru Maharaj, appeared to be dismissive of rasas other than Madhura rasa, Guru Maharaj said, my heart is mortified to hear these things. He said, like, what is their conception? And he said, Srimati Radharani, her first order of the day is to go and give dandavats on the doorstep of Yashoda, and just be grateful to Yashoda that Krishna is in the world. So the other rasas, Madhura rasa is the Adi rasa, Mukhya rasa, the original, the principal. The others are satellites or clients, but they're essential for the full exaltation of Madhura rasa. The others are necessary. They cannot be eliminated. So Rupa Goswami is saying, but by an impartial analysis, then still we will conclude that this one is most superior. So I asked Guru Maharaj a question once, I said, how did I put it? I said, a word to be I was saying, is there any room for the disciple, I said non-adherence, I think, to non-adhere to what the Guru said, And Guru Maharaj wasn't, because I was even strange to hear those words come out of my, like non-adhere means it's a soft way of saying not follow. So I said, is there any room for non-adhere? And Guru Maharaj, what do you, and I said, I don't even know exactly what I'm saying, and then we finally worked it out. But it was funny because Guru Maharaj, he's talking about Guru and Vaishnava, and he said, oh, you mean the man, like that, because we say, acharja mam vijanayat navamanyeta karhachid. Krishna is saying, don't say the man, see me in Guru, you're dealing with me. But Guru Maharaj would give this insight and say, there's a Vaishnava, and the inspired side of the Vaishnava, we detect Guru. And in answer to my question, he said, ideally, it's transparent and, what's the word, like seamless, but there's another word. Well, transparent, like that's just seamless between the Vaishnava side, the inspired side, and the regular side, when he said, oh, the man, right? And he said, in the case of where there is some difference or question, here's the, and by inspired side, we mean genuine spiritual substance, right? And, what do you call, achar and prachar, preaching and behavior. Remember, Mahaprabhu tells Haridas that, some are good at preaching but don't behave properly. Their character, their character is very good, but they can't preach. He's saying, but you're the best because it's same, and not, your character is perfect and your preaching is perfect, so you're the, crown jewel of the Vaishnavas. But Guru Maharaj said, so when there's some discrepancy between, he said, then his classic formula, substance over form. If the form, for some reason, is not equal to the substance, we favor the substance. And again, taking that it is genuine spiritual substance. But, as Guru Maharaj says, there's gradation in everywhere and everything. And remember, Ramananda Sambad is the source of his ontological method. What is it about? Gradation. That's external, go for that's external. Oh, that's acceptable, go deeper. Like dive deep into reality is iho bahya, iho hoy, age kaho ar. Age kaho ar means go further, go deeper. Dive deep into reality. So that means reality has levels, right? Because when we talk about spiritual substance, there's generic spiritual substance. Are we talking about Brahmavadis? Or, the Paramatma realize? We say that's substantial, Brahman, Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaniti, Shabhyate, right? But when we consider Bhagavan proper when there's Shakti and Shaktiman. So the beginning means Lakshmi and Narayan. But we are not ultimately Vishnu Bhaktas. Right? So then there's gradation further. Lakshmi, and even within Vaikuntha, and that's delineated and alluded to in the Brihad Bhagavatamritam of Sanatana Goswami Prabhu, and then, Ayodhya, right? Vaikuntha, Dasya and Sakya Rasa, in the case of some old-time servitors, the beginnings of some Sakya, so Shanta and Dasya. But no birth pastimes. In Ayodhya, there's birth, and also brother Lakshman, so that means Sakya, and conjugal in the sense of Sita, Ek Patni Ramachandra. But that's Seva in Ram Leela. It's Seva. Vaikuntir Pritivyadi Sakala Chinmoy. The spiritual world is composed from the ground up of Chinmoy, spiritual substance enriched with dedicating tendency. Right? Then someone could say, well, what degree? Yes, to the degree of dedication delineates the area of Vaikuntha, southern hemisphere, Aiswarja, predominating the Aprakrita world of Krishna, Goloka Vrindavan, and also Navadip, Gaur Lila, occupying the higher section. So from where do we go from Ayodhya? From Ayodhya to Dwaraka, right? Because see what happens there. The conjugal seva is expanded to 16,108 queens, but it's still married. Conjugal means married, actually. Right? but it's been expanded to 16,108. If we go further, that's why we say, Madhupuri Vara, Shamameva Param Rupam Puri, Madhupuri Vara. And of all the Puris, the Purs, Vaikuntha Pur, etc., what's the supreme one? Madhupur means Mathura. Why? Mathura means Mathura, Vrindavan, Govardhan. Vrindavana hoiti Shrestha Govardhana Shaila, Gandharvika Giridhari, Jata Krida Koila. Superior pastimes of General Vrindavan are found in Govardhan. Superior pastimes to that are found in Radhakunda. And Saraswati Thakur went so far as to delineate the superiority of the banks of Radhakund and the waters of Radhakund. Just to underscore, as we said, Guru Maharaj, there is gradation everywhere and in everything. Right? So when we say representing spiritual substance, then as connotation increases, denotation decreases. Right? So it'll become more and more specific. Right? I've mentioned before an observation that when Mahaprabhu reveals himself to the difference between Mahaprabhu revealing himself to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and to Ramananda, right? We can say, oh, they're two marvelous pastimes. That is true. Right? But is there any difference there? We say, well, Shadbhuj Murti and different for Ramananda. But if you look at in the Bengali, which I recommend, as Madhusudana Maharaj also recommends, like read the Bengali, look at the synonyms when you can. You'll see there it'll be mentioned Sadbhuj, the sixth arm form, but the words used in that section also is he reveals his Ishvara Murti, and Ishvara we will generally say, oh, controller, or Parameshwara, supreme controller. Yes, but it also is more or less the Bengali word for God. Right? When they say Ishwar, it means God. So what it's saying is, he revealed his divinity to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Remember, Sarvabhauma thought he was just, not just, but like a Mahabhagavata of the highest order. He thought, wow, we're observing, Asta Sattvika Vikar, 8 different types of ecstatic emotions expressing themselves to the highest, blazing magnitude of, ecstatic expression. So he was so thrilled and excited, in a sense, to what he had only understood from the scriptures was now personified before him. Still, he thought Mahaprabhu was a great devotee. And again, it's almost like there's a subtle humor, because he is. Or he thought, let's say he thought he was the greatest devotee. He is. Radha Bhava Dyuti Subalita, right? Radha Bhava Dyuti Subalita, Naomi Krishna Swarupam. It's Krishna enveloped in the heart and halo of Srimati Radharani, Bhavan Kanti, and so he is the highest devotee. So, in one sense, he was not incorrect, but he will begin to understand more, like that the most marvelous revelation is that Krishna has taken the form of the greatest devotee, heart and halo, Srimati Radharani. But so from him, the revelation is of his divinity, right? And that's why Shadbhuj saying, who came as Ramachandra, right? Who was as Krishna right? Now, Kamalula, he has now appeared as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's what it's saying there, right? Ramananda Mahaprabhu is not revealing his divinity to Ramananda in this sense. Right? That's a given with Ramananda. What he's revealing to him is that he is, Rasaraj Mahabhav Duyekarup, that he is none other than the divine combination of Rasaraj Krishna and Mahabhav Swarupini Radha Thakurani. That's different than, you see, what he's revealing to Sarvabhauma. So then we can, just by this example, we can understand there are different levels of divine revelation. And Guruta, as there's Vaishnavata, Guruta means, and again, Guruta is divine revelation. So we see it in one case, Sarvabhauma, another case for Ramananda, and all the varieties of devotees. Right? The Chaitanya Bhagavat is written by Vrindavan Das Thakur, who, as Nityananda Parshad, is known Sakyarasa devotee. So he's giving a particular perspective and describing more like Gaur Narayan and Vaikunteshwar and a certain perspective on the position of Mahaprabhu, which again is not incorrect, but is it the full story? Right? Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Kosturi Manjari, is a gopi, is giving another perspective, and then all of this internal aspect of why he descended is revealed by Kaviraj Goswami. Right? In Chaitanya Bhagavat, at most, it's indicated in a general way, or directionally, but it's fully expressed by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and Chaitanya Charitamritam. But what is our position? We accept them both as gurus. Right? We bow down to both, conceive of them in Guru Varga, right? And as representatives of Vyas. Right? Now, this is the best case for understanding possibilities, is that Vedavyas himself, right? We're told, after compiling the Vedas, he's written the Mahabharata. It says, Stri Shudra Dvija Bandhunam Trayena Shruti Gochra. Those who cannot hear Shruti mantra. That's right. Trayena, these three groups cannot hear Shruti mantra. Stri, Shudra, Dvija Bandhu. And he says, so I presented this, and the next line says, Mudha, which can really be a condemnable remark, or if you want to put it in a gentler way, one of the more gentle definitions would be like the simple, or less intelligent, but it depends on how you want to extract from there. But you could say those who can't get that, that's Shruti Gochra, they cannot grasp Shruti mantra, right? So he's saying, I did this for them. And then, so I made Mahabharata, and what happened? They didn't get it. Then you go, well, look at the group, And he's saying, other than some Paramahansa Vaishnavas who can extract the actual meaning, he's saying it like went over people's heads, or their innate bias didn't allow them to extract the real substance, and instead they find in it excuses for pursuing materialism in the name of religion, which is just the opposite of what he wants to achieve. So then that's why we're told he's despondent on the banks of the Saraswati, the great Veda Vyas, right? We say the Vyas Asan, any guru who's taking the seat of Vyas, they're supposed to be representing what is given by him. But here he's saying, he's feeling despondent and like that something's wrong, and I tried to do my best. I gave the Vedas, then I broke them down, and then if people couldn't access that, then I gave the Mahabharata, sort of a story form. Then they're not getting that, like what to do. That's when Narada comes and says, like, Prabhu, you seem a little depressed. I wonder why that is. Remember, Narad is like Krishna, Brahma, Narad is Guru. Right? And then he's coaxing him, more or less, by saying, could it be, and then he gives different suggestions, what might be the cause, and then the Narada Bhagavatam, it's there in 10 slokas, and then that's considered what Narada gives to Vyasa, and then Vyasa expands it into the 12 cantos, 18,000 slokas that became the Bhagavad Purana. But one of my favorite in this section, when Narada appears, is like Veda Vyasa saying himself. He's saying, listing all the good things he did, but how it didn't get the right effect, that people misinterpreted, misunderstood, misused. And he says, Kimva Bhagavata Dharma na prayena nirupita priya paramahangsanam tadeva hyachuta priya. And the shortened form of this would be, I'm going to say this, as he's saying, maybe it's because I did not tell them about Achyuta Priya. So, ostensibly, who's the delight and the dearest to the Paramahamsas? Priya Paramahangsanam. But Achyuta Priya, you could take it to mean Krishna, but here I take it to mean Srimati Radharani. Krishna's Achyuta, she's Achyuta Priya. I'm not saying there are not other ways to look at it, but I find this way most appealing. Because Guru Maharaj will say, Yadamiya Mahima Sri Bhagavatam Katayam Pratipadam Anubhutam Apyalabda Videya Tadakila Rasa Murti Shamalila Avalambam Madhura Rasadi Sri Radha Parapadmam Prapadye. Although her name is not mentioned, right? Anaya Radhito Nunam. Every verse, every story, every step of the way is meant to take us in one direction, and that is the service of her holy lotus feet, Radha Dasyam. So it's true, when there's Krishna had been presented previously, but people don't understand who he is exactly. Right? They see him as a historical figure, or in so many different ways. And what is the Bhagavatam? It's not only going to present Krishna conception, but the sweetest pastimes where Krishna is full-blown sweetness, beauty, charm, and sweetness of Krishna conception comes out only in the presence of Srimati Radharani and the Braja Gopis. So that's not been given. And Guru Maharaj said also that although she was mentioned in a few places here and there, and which was which Purana, I forget which one, but he said, when she entered the door through this particular Purana, said, all the other chaste ladies who are famous in Vedic became pale in comparison. Right? And Bhaktivinoda Thakur includes that in his Radhastakam, in the song, when he mentions Sati and Lakshmi. He has a list of all the famous female chaste ladies and worshipable goddesses and beyond, and saying she's beyond the sum total of all of them, and they're all worshiping her. So Veda Vyasa is realizing that, and under the advice and the prodding of Narada, that he must present not only the pastimes of Krishna, not only just to declare Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No, he wants to, what we told, the Veda Kalpataru. Remember, he took those Vedas because people couldn't understand it as one, then he divided into 3, then there were 4, then he's trying to, this is his preaching. This is always the eternal seva of the devotees, and particularly the work of acharya is to extract the inner meaning, achinoti yashastrartam, and to distribute that to others. So see, Veda Vyas, this is all he wants to do. But according to the qualities of the people at the time, he finds different necessity. So he took the Rig Veda, divided into 3, Rig, Sama, Yajur, and then there became 4, and then he's got the Puranas, but then his magnum opus, his masterwork is the Super Purana, Srimad Bhagavatam, so that Veda Kalpataru, as I said, just like the mango tree, a trunk, many branches sometimes going in opposite directions, down, up, everywhere. It exists for one purpose, to produce mangoes. And as long as you remember that, you won't be bewildered by the crisscrossing of the branches or their apparent contradicting one another. You understand? Because no, it's just to produce mangoes. So with that in mind, you won't be bewildered. If you understand, Srimad Bhagavatam is not only a book to take us from ontology toward the domain of rasa, but particularly Madhura rasa, right? But just see, it's in the 10th canto, how carefully, cautiously, systematically Veda Vyasa is taking you there. Although he gave it away in the first 3 words. For those who have the eyes to see, and that means Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur. And it was, remember, Veda Kalpataru, the Vedic desire tree. And that's where you're going to find, Dhanurved, Ayurved, Jyotirved, this, everything. Right? Fun for the whole family. But then we were saying, the floral essence, and this is so beautiful, just like the trees here, like we have those Lilavati, Goloka Champak trees. So you see the tree without the flowers is not so beautiful, right? But when those flowers come out, how beautiful that tree is. So it's like that. The Veda Kalpataru on its own, I'm not saying it's not beautiful, but when the floral essence comes out in the form of Vedanta, then it's getting exciting. Right? And then, as we see in this world, the flower gives way to the bud, and then the bud of the fruit comes. Nigama kalpatarur galitam palam shukamukaram ritadrava samyatam pibata bhagavatam rasamalayam muhuraho rasika bhuvibhavaka, or whatever he's going to say. So Vedanta, janmadyasya yataha, flowers on the Veda Kalpataru, right? But in Srimad Bhagavatam, Janmadyasya yaton vayaditaratasya, it fully blossoms into this, Pibata Bhagavatam, this nectarine juice, which is Madhura Rasa. That's what it is. Right? That is the ultimate nectarine substance. But 10th canto, so he's going to take you from one, canto, and gradually describe the creation, former creations, the meetings of these sages, them expressing what is important. Then to, the teachings of, for Sukadev to Parikshit Maharaj, but then Kapila Dev to Devahuti, then Rishabdev to his sons, Chitraketu section of the 6th canto, Ajamil, the glories of the holy name. 7th canto, Prahlad is no sabritu savaivanik. That's the beginning of pure devotion. It's not transactional. Prahlad's heart, like when the Sringadev, what boon do you... Boon? My Lord, I was serving you out of love and affection. That's all I want. I only want service. I'm not asking you for anything. That's why it's the beginning of Shuddha Bhakti. 7th canto and 8th canto, Gajendra, Vaman. I mean, I'm leaving out so many things, but just showing some linear, like vertical movement. 9th canto, Ambarish Maharaj, and Mohini Murti, which is so important. Devas, Asuras churning in, trying to get what Amrita, what is that? And it's a prelude to the 10th canto. What is that nectarine substance? Madhura Rasa. Who is generated from the milk ocean? On the one side, Lakshmi Devi. On the other side, the moon. Krishna appears in the Chandra Vangsha, the moon dynasty. Radharani is Mahalakshmi. Right? Then the 10th canto. And then even within the 10th canto, 28 chapters leading up to this. It's 90 altogether. So the first third is the appearance of Krishna and his childhood pastimes to finally get to this point. So how carefully, cautiously, systematically he's presenting it. But it's abundantly clear that, so factoring this in, then if we go back to the beginning, you can restate what he's saying. Well, the reason I'm feeling this way is I didn't tell people about the Madhura Rasa pastimes of Srimati Radharani and Krishna and the Braja Gopis, and Muktir Hitvanyata Rupam Swarapena Vivastiti, that they have a chance, you have some prospect there. It's not just like, oh, isn't that wonderful? Meanwhile, back on earth. Right? We're saying, and you, like we shudder to think, have a part to play. That is her Krishna consciousness movement is the merciful extension of Radha Dasyam. Right? As Guru Maharaj said, when in his prayer, separation from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Sri Gauranamutam Srupa Viditam Rupa Agvajainadritam Rupadye Pariveshitam Raghugunaya Shraditam Shevitam Jivadye Abhirakshitam Sukha Shiva Brahma Samanitam Sri Radha Parasevanamritam Aho Tadatum Ishobhavai. Oh, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, your gift to the world, it's unbelievable. What Mahaprabhu brought down and is only known fully to Swarup Damodar, that is worshipped, and his followers, the Swarupanugas, Sanatana Goswami Prabhu is worshipping that. Rupa is, Rupadye Parivesha, as extending it to others. Raghunath Das and Krishna Das, they're tasting what's being distributed and what's happening. It's becoming more delicious and sweet. And then Jiva Deva Rakshitam, Jiva, Baladev Vidyabhushan, they're protecting this from those who would challenge its legitimacy, its authenticity, those who would attempt to adulterate this substance, to imitate it. Jiva Deva Virakshitam. And what is it? It's something that Shiva, Sukha, Narada, and later Guru Maharaj included Uddhava, as in Asamaho Charanrenu Jishama Hangshan Vrindavane Kimapi Gumalato Sadenam Yadushtajam Swajanamarja Patam Chahitva Bejur Mukunda Purivim Shrutivir Mimigyam. And what is it? I mean, after this big build-up, then what is it? Please tell us. He's saying, Sri Radha Parasevinamritam, the service of the holy lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. Then you say, that's Bhaktivinoda Thakur's gift to the world in the form of the Krishna consciousness movement. And the wealth that Saraswati Thakur wanted to promote, and that Srila Prabhupada, Swami Maharaj, took all over the world, and then Guru Maharaj made it clear what is this gift, as in this poem. So, Sri Radha Padasevinamritamaho. So that is your gift to the world. Then, what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. Urava. And this is very beautifully, as could be expected in a sense, that condensed into one sloka by Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur. So it's almost like a conclusion. Saying, Aradhya Bhagavan Brajesha Tanayas Taddama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachid Brajabadu Bhargena Cha Kalpita. He's saying, and what's the highest form of worship? Aradhya Bhagavan, of God. Brajesha Tana, the Braja Isha Tanu, that means Krishna. And who's abode, so Krishna worship, that's the highest. Right? Means more higher than Narayan, than Ramachandra, than even Mathuranath, Krishna, this Vrindavan Krishna, Brajesha Tanaya, and who's abode? Taddama Vrindavanam. Right? And then it says, Ramya Kajid Brajabadu. Brajabadu means the brides, the young gopi girls of Vrindavan. And kalpita means what they have imagined or invented. That's the word, Guru. I like that. Like they invented it. Like they're sitting around and, I got an idea. You could say, parody or paraphrasing one of those famous statements, if Krishna did not exist, they should have to invent him. Right? So, Brajabadu Bhargena Kalpita means, as what they've conceived, really. And so, they're trademark, copyright, Braja Gopis, right? Stamped on the bottom of the lotus feet of Krishna. They own Krishna. They are the sole distributors of Krishna. Right? So, then what does he say? Then the way Guru Maharaj tells us, you go like, well, wait a minute, where does it say that? Or what's you're making some outrageous statements here. So you're saying, these teenage gopis, cowgirls of Vrindavan, there's no superior worship of God than what they've conceived. You mean those Puranas, all those great books, right? And you're saying this is the highest thing. And then we can again go back, and Vedavyasa is saying, maybe I'm feeling disappointed because I didn't tell people this. I didn't tell them what's actually going on in the highest part of the highest reality, in its deepest, most confidential, intimate place. And maybe only hearing that and its prospect, Vidyate Hridaya Granti Chidyante Sarvasamshaya, is capable of cutting the knots of the stranglehold that lust has upon the heart. When you hear about the pastimes of Madan Gopal, Madan Mohan, Krishna, Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham. Right? So then Guru Maharaj says, so Chakrabarti Thakur was saying this. Highest form of God, Krishna, the highest worship is Krishna, and highest abode, Vrindavan, and that worship as invented, imagined, and created by the Braja Gopis. What's the evidence for that? Next line. Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the evidence for that. That's what the book is about. Everything else is just leading up to this. like a prelude to this very thing. And it's only, like that tree, it's only about producing the mango. So don't get distracted going this way and that way. Its only purpose is to produce this irresistible nectarine fruit and the sweet substance, right, that more than nourishes the soul, right? Like vidyavaru jivanam, anandam buddhivardhanam, pratipadam purnamrita svadanam, param vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. So what's the evidence? Srimad Bhagavatam, and they say, pramanam amalam. Of all these Puranas, remember, Vyasa, and mercifully is saying, well, some people, like when devotees preach, they think like, well, you know, some people, they just don't get this. So you can devise ways and means, yena tena prakarena mana krishnena veshayet, little bit, or what Guru Maharaj called bait, pujala ragapat, matala jana vishayarange, some bait to attract them, but to attract them to what? Right? It's not, when we're promoting, don't get lost in the promotion and forget about what it is we're promoting. So Vedavyasa is saying, well, some people are in Tamagun. So he's got Puranas to help bring them out of Tamagun with this one purpose in mind. Some people are in Rajagun. Take them out of there. Sattvagun is also not 100% pure. It's a gun, a mundane quality, but be at the highest and the most suitable or favorable for spiritual culture. But so he's got it, so the Srimad Bhagavatam is not that. From the get-go, from the beginning, dharma projita kaitabo, no kaita, there's no cheating here. I mean, there's no flim-flam in the Bhagavatam, right? There's no, you understand, it's the Amala Purana, Pramanam Amalam, the pure, spotless evidence. Paramahansa Vaishnava may be able to interpret anything and everything in favor of Krishna conception. But the Srimad Bhagavatam is just straight, right? There's no ulterior motive there. There's only one, to take you to Krishna conception, and Krishna conception means at the feet of his devotee, you get your connection, and at the feet of the highest devotee and her friends, assistants, and servitors in our Sri Guru Varga. So, Pramanam Amalam. And why? What did he say about Mahabharata? What was the problem? Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Right? So anyone in India can go Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. And as I mentioned before, when we were there preaching years ago, they'd always say like, be religious until you're like, you get married. Then spend some time in married life. Right? So 25, just use some marker. Up to the age of 25, you're like brahmachari, religious, then you get married, artha, kam, 25 years of, making money, family life, so-called enjoyment. At the age of 50, vanaprastha, like start winding down, retiring from the family life, then husband and wife, husband takes sannyas, wife living, ideally with the eldest son, and we're talking about Vedic culture, right? But here's was their understanding, and then I know what Vyasa is talking about, why he was disappointed with Mahabharata. He's saying, they'll start saying, and moksha, liberation, when your senses don't work anymore. They're saying, that's when you do that. Like, in other words, when you can no longer perform, then you go for moksha. But not while you've got good working senses, So what does he say here that's very interesting? So he's saying, Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam. It's the pure Praman, evidential truth. And what does it say? Prema Pumarto Mahan. What we sometimes call the fifth goal of life. It's saying the goal, it's not Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. It's presenting the fifth goal of life. What is that? Prem. Krishna Prem. Prema Pumarto Maha. This is the ultimate thing to be gained, gotten, meant, distributed. So then Guru Maharaj say, and where did you find all of this out? That the Braja Gopis, they're the supreme, Krishna's the supreme God, his abode Vrindavan is supreme, and the method of worship of the Braja Gopis, that's the best. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the evidence. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Matamidam Tatrapi Napara. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Matamidam Tatrapi Napara. Something like that. From Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is his teaching. He's come to tell us the glories of Radharani and the Braja Gopis. Right? So, that said, we're told when Sridhar Swami, the famous, our Guru Maharaj is Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Sridhar Swami is a long time ago, thousands years ago, commentator on Srimad Bhagavatam, considered the principal. Right? Mahaprabhu told Balabhabhata, who thought he was superior to Sridhar Swami, in his comments, Mahaprabhu said, Sridhar Swami Prasade Bhagavata Jani, Jagat Guru Sridhar Swami Guru Korimani. No, Sridhar Swami, by his mercy, we know Bhagavatam. Therefore, we consider him Guru. And I used to use this verse to praise Guru Maharaj, and Srila Govinda Maharaj. It made him very happy, and Guru Maharaj would chuckle, because it says Sridhar Swami. But it's also in that section where one meaning of Swami is husband, and Mahaprabhu tells Balabhabhata, one who does not accept the Swami is a prostitute. A play on words, because he didn't accept Sridhar Swami. Yeah. But anyway, so when his commentary came out, it differed from what was given previously. And so there was some who would not accept it as being valid. So they submitted a petition to the deity of Shiva, Bharadraj. Right? And mystically, after some time, this sloka came bellowing out. And it was, Ahang Vedmi Sukha Veti Vyaso Veti Naveti Va. Right? It's from Shiva himself. He's saying, I know, Ahang Vedmi, I know the meaning of the Bhagavatam. Sukha Veti, Sukha knows the meaning of the Bhagavatam. And then he says something astonishing. Vyaso Veti Naveti Va. Vyas, he may know or may not know. And they say, he wrote it. And now you're telling us he may know or may not know. Meaning, to what degree? It's a representation of the infinite. And so we say, that's Veda Vyas. You sit on the Vyasa son. He's, the Adi Guru, etc. And here she was saying, I know, Sukadev knows, and Sukadev heard it from Vyas. So, and Mahaprabhu used that. When he was speaking to Sanatana Goswami, Sanatana said, in that talk with Sarvabhauma, where you revealed your divinity, it was about Atmarama Slok. I'd like to hear that. And Mahaprabhu said, oh, two madmen were having a discussion. I don't remember. And you want to hear that. And Mahaprabhu said, but, on the basis of your necessity, I could say something. And we should recall, remember, Sarvabhauma trying to regain his prestige when he had said to Mahaprabhu, I know this Vedanta is deep stuff, but because Mahaprabhu was just sitting there like this, and he must have looked very beautiful. And imagine Sarvabhauma talking there and talking. And there's Gauranga in front of you. But he said nod or something if you understand. I know it's very deep stuff. And Mahaprabhu said, oh, I understand Vedanta clearly. What are you talking about? Sarvabhauma, what? Remember, he's 23, 24, and Sarvabhauma is this great. And he's saying, what are you saying? I know Vedanta, but what is this stuff? And then Sarvabhauma decides to explain the Atmarama sloka, gives 9 explanations, and you think like, what do you think about that? Mahaprabhu, that was good. Then he gives 18 explanations, like double, and doesn't touch on the 9. That's when Sarvabhauma started like, oh, the transformation, like, he's mercifully come before me as my student, but he is more than Guru. He's Krishna himself, and he's upgrading me to Chaitanya Lila. How fortunate. I mean, he gradually, and then the Shadbhuj revelation and all that. So so 9 and 18, that's 27. So when Mahaprabhu starts speaking on Atmarama sloka to Sanatan, he gives 60. Right? And Sanatan's saying, this is beyond human capacity. And he starts praising Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu said, Sanatan, why are you praising me? Don't you know every letter of the Bhagavatam is Krishna and capable of infinite stream, of revelation. And he said, actually, it's by your association. And by your association, and that's when he said, Ahang Ved me, so I may not know everything that's passing through me. And this is the position of Guru. Guru Maharaj was saying, he said, but the disciple has a particular necessity, and Krishna's revealing that. So Mahaprabhu said, I may not know. I mean, we have to take that in context, but he said, but what I do know for certain is that Krishna wants to grace you through me. That much I know. What's passing through me, I may not know the full extent of that. But what I'm certain of is Krishna is gracing you. And it's your necessity that is drawing this. Like the calf, love and affection, drawing the milk. And Guru Maharaj makes the observation also, then you can understand on a comparative analysis the superiority of Sanatana Goswami Prabhu. You understand? What was Sarvabhauma's necessity met with? 18. Sanatana Goswami, 61. Right. So, this is a long preface to say, so for Madhvacharya and not being able to digest chapter 13, 14 of where Brahma becomes bewildered, right? Because it's the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. But in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, again, the first sloka, Vyasa wrote, Muhyanti Yatsuraya. So he says, Janmadyasya yaton vayad itaratas cha arteshu abhigya swarat. He's saying, you are the source of everything, and your Madhura Rasa pastimes with Srimati Radharani, and everything is directly or indirectly about you, and only you know the purpose behind everything. That's abhigya. And swarat, you're completely independent to do as you wish. Then, Tene Brahma Hrida, and into the heart of Brahma, you reveal this, but it says Tene Brahma Hrida, but what's the next line? Muhyanti Yatsuraya. So you could say, right following that, he says, but even the gods are bewildered. Right? So if we take it and trying to fully estimate and grasp Krishna, the Aprakrita Leela of Krishna. So, out of a necessity of Leela, Brahma was bewildered. And then what comes out of Brahma, after his acknowledged bewilderment, the humility of that, the most beautiful prayers that all preachers in this line, and the Gaudiya line, you want to know how to preach, just learn the prayers of Brahma, beginning with Nomi Jate Abra Bapuse Taridambaraya Gyane Prayasamudapasana Manta Eva Tatenu Kampam Susamikshimano, Janantu Eva Janantu. Like, it goes one after another, after another, after another. Quoted by Srila Gurudev, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, Swami Maharaj, Saraswati Thakur, Bhaktivinoda, everyone. So quotes the prayers of Brahma. And then we have the Brahma Sangita. But for the Leela of Krishna, even Brahma can be bewildered, right? And as Guru Maharaj said, but Madhva could not, in his world, everything just needs to be perfect, right? But this is another type of perfection. Even Balaram, under the influence of Yogamaya and some of the pastimes of Krishna, is so-called not aware of something, like the stealing of the cowherd boys, because it was on his birthday that day, as Yogamaya would have it. Rohini kept him home for a little celebration. He wasn't there when this happened. Then realizes a year later, Krishna fills him in on what happened. Krishna, when he's entering, just about to enter the gaping jaws of Aghasura, where all the cowherd boys entered, singing and dancing, like on his tongue on the way in. Because one said, like, is this an amusement park of some kind? And someone else, no, I think it's like a giant snake who's opened his mouth and is going to swallow us. Anyway, Krishna's here. What could go wrong? They just singing and dancing on their way in. That's Sharanagati. That Goptrite Baran. Drink the poisonous waters. Krishna's here. March into the mouth of the... Krishna will save. That's pure devotion. But we're told right before Krishna enters, because Aghasura's got the mouth, and like looking at you like, come on, he wants him to he goes, if I get him, then everyone, the whole Vrindavan will die, because they're so in love with Krishna. He's their life and soul. But we're told when Krishna, right before he steps in, he thinks, this is really amazing. He stops for a moment and says, these pastimes are amazing, and the way Yogamaya were, and even Krishna's amazed how it all works. So that he can become bewildered, right, by Radharani, right? He is, one of her names, Govinda Mohini. He is Madan Mohan, the bewilder of Madan, Cupid. And who is she? Madan Mohan, Mohini. She can bewilder Krishna. So if it's out of a necessity of Leela, it's not objectionable. Right? So Mahaprabhu delighted in these pastimes. We see Shiva is bewildered by Mohini Murti. Right? And remember, Mohini Murti is not actually female, but is Krishna assuming this form. And what to speak of all the asuras, even Shiva is enamored by and runs after Mohini Murti. Muhyanti Yatsuraya. Even the guy, Indra, Brahma Vimohan Lila, Indra Mohan. But that does not countenance. There's a sloka from the Mahabharata that says, Guru Rapi Aviliptasya Karjam Ajanata Utpatta Pratipanasya Purityago Vidiyate. If an acharya no longer can distinguish between what is what, right and wrong, and wander, that's another thing. That's not what's being referred to here. This is Brahma participating in the Leela of Krishna, and will become, to make it sweeter and, what do they call it? A teachable moment. He becomes bewildered. so that all the sweetness of Krishna's pastimes can come out. And what I like, we were with Gurudev on his veranda once, and someone was mentioning this, and it might have been me, I was saying like, all those prayers that Brahma offers, and because it's like Krishna's, remember, he's there holding a flute, and he's got a flute and a stick in his belt. So he's got the flute and the stick. They only use a little stick, like that. And then in his left hand is some food, and he's like, and Brahma's going, are you not my father? Narayanas tvam nahi sarvadehinam. And Maharaj Goswami, he will say, Krishna, like, are you mad? You know, I'm 5, right? And you look like you're about 150 trillion years old. You know, like, how can I be your father? But it's like Krishna, Brahma said, no, because from, Mahavishnu, and then there's Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and from the navel, and like, if you say so. But he keeps going on and on with all these parents. So Kaviraj Goswami will present it as if there's some dialogue, but really it's like Krishna, like snacking, listening to the prayers of Brahma, and then perhaps in the Garga Samhita, Gurudev said, when he finished, Brahma's like his final prayer, like, he's crying and begging forgiveness and everything. The Gurudev said, Krishna went like, you can go. Because Brahma's going like, backing away, like, I know I'm not qualified to be in your... It's like Uddhava Sloka. He has a famous word, again in those prayers, Tadburi Bhag, like Asamaho Charanarenu. So he's like, Tadburi Bhagyam Iha Janma Kimapyatavyam Yad Gokalepi Katamangri Rajobhishekam. It's almost identical. But it says, he's saying, if I could have the good fortune to be born like a plant in Vrindavan, then I would get some of the dust from the inhabitants there. But the Uddhava Sloka is targeting the gopis exclusively. But Brahma makes it similar. He's saying, I know now, like after this, all of this happened, and I stole his beloved cowherd boys and calves, that to express that an aspiration to have a position in this plane, that's just inappropriate, too much too soon. Everyone should take a lesson from that. If Brahma's praying, he's saying, but if, I could be like a dust there, then that would be a fortunate position for me. Right? And then he backs out and returns to his planet. So the Yogamaya exists to sometimes put the devotees in a state of bewilderment, to reveal the sweetness of the loving relationship between the Lord and his devotees. We'll adjust it in that way. Hare Krishna. Hari Haraye Namo Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Hari Haraye Namo Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Gopal Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudan. Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra. Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath. Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath. Jai Go Jai Kori Charana Bandhan. Jaha Hoite Vignanash Abhishta Puran. Jai Go Jai Jar Mui Taro Das. Tansabara Padarenu Mora Panchagras. Tandera Charana Sevi Bhakta Sane Bas. Janame Janame More Abhilas. Jai Go Jai Jabe Braje Koilovas. Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korilo Prakash. Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan. Sri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majai Aman. Sri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyash. Kori Nam Sankirtan Kohe Narotamodar. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Gaur Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Gaur Hari Bo. Jai Gaur Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Gaur Hari Bo. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajaka Sathar Sada Shri Srimad Sri Bhakti Sundar Govind Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Sri Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Saparikar Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Gandharva Govinda Sundar Ji Ki Jai. Sri Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai. Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Go Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Govinath Shyamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai. Sri Gupta Govardhan Ki Jai. Ganga Devi Dumuna Devi Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Om Vishnupad Vishva Varenya Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Madhacharya Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Vinod Maharaj ki jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudana Maharaj ki jai. Seva Vrinda ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Go Premanande.
Srila Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Dandavas from our online devotees. Dhananjay Prabhu, Russia. Suchitra Didi, Nadia Barandich, Ukraine. Gaura Shakti Prabhu, Adelaide, Australia. Murari Mohan Prabhu, Australia. Ajita Krishna, Russia. Vijay Krishna, London. Dayavati Didi, Tijuana, Mexico. Madhu Mangal Prabhu. Jyotirmoy Prabhu. Then Pandita Dasi, sincere and humble Dandavat Pranam to Srila Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Then Dhananjaya Das, Dandavats to my dear Gurudev, and thanks for these always inspiring classes. Really an oasis in such a complicated time, and thanks to all devotees there for your seva. It's Dhananjaya and Chaitanya Mai here. Rome is eternally present. Pandita Didi, Rupa Vilas Prabhu, Philippines. Seva Rupa Devi, Mexico City. Dandavat Pranams to Srila Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj and all devotees. Then Purushottam Prabhu, Salt Lake City. Bhakta Bandhu Das, Dandavats Srila Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj. Dandavats to all assembled devotees from Bulacan, Philippines. Naveen Prabhu from Lakhta. Jai Govinda Prabhu, Ireland. Arjun Prabhu, Kanu Priya Didi, London. Lakshmi Priya Lotus Didi. Then Pedro Contreras, greetings from Mexico. Madhumati Didi, USA. And Aram A.
And who?
Aram A. This is their name.
Hare Krishna.
That I got.
Bansa Kalpatrivya Kripa Sindhu Vevata Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna.